Well, our coverage continues this morning of the deadly shooting of Lorenzo Salgado, who was shot just 5 days ago by ICE agents. Yesterday was filled with protests, vigils, and new accounts of what happened that day. Our Michelle Choi starts off our coverage live in studio with the new accounts from witnesses after Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia met with them yesterday at the Montgomery ICE Processing Center in Conroe. Michelle, what did they have to say?
Well, hey, good morning, Katira. So listen, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia says she spoke with 2 of the 3 men who were inside Lorenzo Salgado Araujo's van the day he was shot, including his brother Victor. She says what they described is very different from DHS's account of what happened. Take a look. We were there as Garcia met with the witnesses Saturday at the Montgomery ICE Processing Center in Conroe after initially being delayed from entering the facility. She says both men are still trying to process what happened Tuesday morning in Houston's East End when ICE agents shot and killed Lorenzo Salgado while he was driving to work. DHS has said Salgado tried to drive his van towards agents, but Garcia says the witnesses insist that's not what happened.
Shockingly, a totally different story. Totally different. They say that there is no time that any of the agents were in front of the van. There was no commands. They communicated nothing, not even who they were and why they were there.
Yeah, Garcia says the witnesses told her agents approached from behind the van, which is consistent with surveillance video obtained by KG11. She also says Lorenzo's brother Victor is struggling with the loss after the 2 lived together and went to work together every day. Now, DHS has said Salgado was not the intended target of that operation and that one of his passengers resembled the person agents were looking for. Meanwhile, supporters are expected to gather again tonight for another vigil honoring Lorenzo Salgado at Houston City Hall beginning at 7 p.m. Katira.
All right, Michelle, I know people have been showing up in droves. I'm sure we can expect to continue to see that. Thank you so much. Well, a large crowd rallied in downtown Houston yesterday after the deaths of Lorenzo Salgado. Troy Klesch continues our coverage this morning after speaking with demonstrators outside City Hall.
After an ICE agent shot and killed Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, many people here are demanding accountability while also trying to mourn Salgado's death. Alondra Cabrera is one of dozens outside Houston City Hall.
How he was brutally murdered in our streets and there is no accountability for it.
Immigrants are welcome here.
Throughout the day of rallies and vigils come waves of emotion. Elsa Flores with local labor group SEIU speaking tonight, navigating the different feelings experienced.
We mourn, but we feel hope at that moment. But we understand that as a community, that as a labor movement, that as people, we are going to now have to take a stand and we're going to have to fight.
As dozens chanted, 2 elected leaders joined the rally, including Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, after she had just visited with some of the men who were riding with Lorenzo Salgado Araujo when he was shot and killed.
So it appears to be, based on what they have told me, that it was ICE that weaponized their vehicles. But if you look at the videos across the country of some of what ICE has done, that's the way they operate.
Cesar Espinoza with Fiel Houston saying this tragedy highlights a continued problem with increased immigration enforcement.
Is obviously a cause for concern. And the question, what we want to make sure that we say is that it doesn't happen again. So this shouldn't have happened in Houston. It was just unfortunately a matter of time. And it's unfortunate that this family now has to piece their life back together after what happened.
As people around Houston march and share their calls for accountability, they say those efforts won't slow down.
My hope moving forward is for us to keep our voices heard and make our representatives take action.
Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia telling us that she is asking her colleagues, including Representative Christian Menifee and Al Green, to call legislative hearings to ask DHS for more information about the shooting. At City Hall, Troy Klesch, KHOU 11 News.
And dozens also met yesterday to cruise through Houston's East End, some hanging flags, others riding on their vehicles. Organizers told us it's to show support for Lorenzo Salgado and his family and to also show people that they should not be afraid to go out in their community.
We're here to represent and show what we believe, that when you have an unmarked vehicle, you don't know who's in there, and that we're all citizens. same planet. I don't care about these borders. We're all just trying to make a living and live a life and be peaceful and just try to provide for our families, which is exactly what Senor Lorenzo did.
And demonstrations were held across the Houston area yesterday. In League City, people held signs and called for justice outside the Helen Hall Library. We spoke with one of the organizers.
I believe America is a nation built on and by immigrants. We need to understand that America is the country many people in the world wanted to come to at one point. We have become inhospitable to the people that built America.
And as calls for answers continue following the deadly ICE shooting, so does support for his family. It was an emotional day yesterday in Houston's East End as packed vigil drew supporters, elected officials, and Lorenzo Salgado's relatives. Salgado's oldest son, Ronaldo, received a standing ovation as he stepped to the front of the room. He says he's focused on finding answers and bringing his father home.
His van to be returned to us. His wallet, his phone, his belongings to be returned to us. His lunchbox, which I imagine it just sitting there in that van at the FBI facility, just rotting away, never eaten, you know? It was the last meal my mom made for him. And she just wants that lunchbox back to wash it again.
And Salgado says his father was a quiet man who loved his family. Now, a reminder, you can follow our coverage of this story as it develops using the KHOU 11 app that's streaming free on your phone or TV.